Hey, welcome in! In this video we will be going over inserts. There are three different ways of entering data that we'll be covering. The first is using the insert into script. The second is the edit table method, and the third is the import data method. If you're not able to stay for the entire video, here's a short version. Option 1, the insert into script. It's simply saying you type out insert into, specify the table name, and then in the first set of parentheses, lay out the column names that you'll be entering data into. After that, enter the word values, and then another set of parentheses, enter the data that you want to import or enter into those columns that you mentioned before. Remember that if you're entering text, surround them with apostrophes, not quotation marks. You can enter more than one row or more than one value. Just split them up with commas, as seen in the example below. The second method is the edit table method. Just simply right-click on the table name, click Edit Top 200 Rows, and you can just simply type in the values that way. When you're done, hit X to close that tab, and all of your changes will be saved. Though this is a little bit limited because this is looking at top 200 rows, so keep that in mind. And the final method is the import data method. Because we did cover this in the last video a little bit, we are borrowing some slides, but in case you haven't seen it, here are the steps to go through. So right-click on the database name and go to Tasks, and then Import Data. And you're just going to follow the import wizard prompts, the different screens. If you're importing data from Excel, click on Microsoft Excel as the data source, browse for your file. For the destination, click on the very last option, the Microsoft OLE DB provider for SQL Server. That will update the screen. It'll show the server name and database name. It'll already be defaulted to some values depending on what database you right-clicked in before. So that should already be filled in. Just go ahead next. It'll bring you to this screen. Just keep it as the top option, the copy data from one or more tables or views. Hit next. On the next screen, you'll click the check mark beside the sheet from the Excel file that you want to import, and then specify the SQL table name that you want the data to be imported into. So left side is Excel, right side is SQL. Don't forget to, before I continue, if you are importing into an existing table, you will notice that when you change the name, the icon will change from a gray table to a white table. Before you continue on, don't forget to hit Edit Mappings. So this is where you will map what Excel column is going to what SQL table column. One thing to note is keep an eye on the size. If you see the size default to 255 for these different columns, stop here. That means you have a typo where you entered the SQL table name. Just go ahead and click OK on the edit mapping screen and hit next. It'll bring you here. You don't need to change anything. Hit next. Leave the next screen checked on run immediately. Hit next. On the final screen, you'll be confirming you're importing the right Excel file, making sure it's going to the right SQL table you were expecting. If it all looks good, hit finish. When everything is all done, you'll see success, you'll see how many rows were imported, and you can just hit close. And with that, let's get started. We are already signed into Management Studio. So to get a new window open that we can start working in, let's click on the database name and click New Query at the top. And this is like a fresh new document that we can start working in. You can notice that our test database is the one selected because we already had that selected when we hit New Query. just a quick recap. Let's say if you were selected on the server name and then hit new query, notice that the database defaulted to master. If you notice that you're working in the wrong database, you can click the drop down at the top left corner and click on your database, in our case, test database, and now we are in the right environment. So for future videos and projects, I was thinking of maybe we could work on a personal finances project. That way we can, expand on this over the course of maybe some videos, and you can see it grow, and it can give you some ideas of maybe whatever other projects that you might want to start on your own. So before we practice inserting data, we need tables to insert data into. So I'm going to start prepping. Let's do create table buckets. And personally, I like to work with column names that are fully capitalized. SQL is not case sensitive, so you'll see I typed create table, with maybe create capitalized with the C, everything else is lowercase. SQL won't be upset if I type create table in all caps or lowercase. It'll work with anything. So going back to our column name, category, bar chart, 50. Subcategory is going to be, varchar, not bar chart. Not null. And again, not null means not nothing, meaning it can't be nothing, so there has to be data in these columns. Next is bucket type, varchar1. Yay, toggles. I could do car1, either one works. Modified by varchar 50. And timestamp is datetime. And because datetime is the last item on the list, I am not putting a comma there. This is all good to go. We can highlight, click our parse button, see everything looks good, so I can hit execute. I don't see the table immediately, that's because I haven't refreshed yet, so I can click on the database name, click on the blue refresh button, expand tables, and there's our buckets. So I do have other tables that I want to build, but to save you time and save me time, I am going to go to GitHub because I think y'all will like this a lot. I think I'm going to try to post any coding into GitHub that you can simply copy and paste. So in Google, just go to GitHub. And for searching GitHub, type VeeBee coding. So you'll find me under users, and I use the same icon as for YouTube. So I'll click on VeeBee coding, go over to repositories, go to the YouTube video files, and I'm going to try my best to name these in a way that you can find these easily. So if you notice that in the YouTube title, I put the video number. So for example, this is going to be for video 3. So that's why both at the very front of the title and also in the last update description, I put video 3 to find it easily. Here's our create table buckets that we just did. So I am going to just copy all the rest of this, go back to here. I'm just doing Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Actually, I already created the bucket, so I can delete that top one. And one at a time, I am going to highlight and execute just to make sure everything is good. That's good. Okay, so I can click on the database, refresh, and now we have a whole bunch of tables. So you might notice we have a special kind of table, such as this budget ID uses identity. So this means this will be a auto increment ID column. It'll start at 1 and it'll increment by 1. I think that's the only one that uses identity. But yeah, otherwise we're using int, varchar, date. We may change some of these later on. But for now, we are all set. And again, you don't need to save this file. If you wanted to, you could, of course, do file save as, save it like any other Word, Excel document, save the file anywhere. But remember, you don't need to create table scripts because you can always right-click the table name and then go to Script Table As, Create To, New Query Editor window, and it'll show your Create Table script right there. So because that is true, I'm going to actually close that because we don't need this screen anymore. Now that we have our tables, it is now time to start practicing inserting data. And the first thing on our to-do list is to practice the insert into scripts. So I'm going to go back to our GitHub. Again, we're looking under the repository YouTube video files for video number 3. I'm going to scroll down past all the create table scripts that we already did and copy down here. And I just did Control C to copy, Control V to paste. So at this moment, all of our tables are empty. So let's use our insert into script. When doing any insert into, delete, update, alter, anything, always wrap around begin tran, rollback, and commit. This is a safeguard, so if you alter a table in any way and you review it, something looks weird, you can always roll back the changes. So the insert into script is simply insert into, put the table name that you want to edit, in a set of parentheses, list the column names that you want to insert data into, then say values, and then in another set of parentheses, list those values, or the values for each column one at a time, separated by commas, in the same order that you listed the columns up above. When entering strings, surround them with apostrophes, not quotation marks. You can enter data for multiple rows within the same insert into. All you gotta do is put a comma at the very end, and then on the next row, you can just continue on. Everything wrapped around parentheses. And that's it. You'll be done. So let's start highlighting from begin tran. Go to the end of our script and do execute. And we can see 9 rows were affected. We did it from January to September. Before I roll back or commit, I can highlight our select statement to view the table. And I'm looking at 2023, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Everything was inserted. If I wanted to, I could highlight commit and do execute to save the changes, but just for fun, to show you what happens, I'm going to instead highlight rollback, click execute. So this now undid the insert I just did. So if I do the select star again, the table is empty. So let's do that begin tran, insert into, execute, look at the table, always review any changes you do before committing. So I'm just checking again, it looks okay. So I will highlight commit, execute, and now our changes are preserved. So if I committed something and later on see something was wrong and I can't go, no, wait, I want to go back. If I try to roll back now, well, it's going to say the rollback transaction request has no corresponding begin transaction. So because we committed the change, that transaction is complete, we can't roll it back now. And that is simply the insert into script. So the next item on the list is the edit top 200 rows. So you'll notice again we went to September, but we are missing October, November, December. So let's go over to our tables on the left-hand side, and we want to insert data into our dates table. So let's right-click on dates and click on edit top 200 rows. On the screen, we can start filling in the data, and when we're done, we can hit the X button. There is no save button here, just hitting X will save your changes. So let's fill it in. 23, 10. And for this current flag column, we will adjust this later on. For now, I'll just say no for, this month is not current. This will be relevant later on. This will be good for reporting purposes. We can update it with any update scripts or store procedure. Ooh. For the timestamp, I'm just going to cheat, copy paste. 2023. Last one. There we go. So we have just finished filling in October through December. Double check, things look okay. Okay, so again, there's no save button. So you could just go ahead and hit the X, and we can go back to our select statement, run it. You can see the changes that we made it here. So we have October, November, December. So there you go. We already went through the insert into method, and we did the edit top 200 rows method. Just keep in mind that, again, that is top 200 rows. You will be a bit limited. But I did just want to make you aware this was an option. You can also use that method to make an edit. Like if I made this just December and closed it, ran this again, you can see our edit was made there. So it's not just for inserting data. Let's fix that again. Yeah, that's fine. There we go. So now that we've already gone through the first two methods of inserting data, let's go through the third method, and that is importing. Let's prepare a Excel file. So to get us started and make preparing the Excel file have a little bit of a head start, let's do our select statement again. And now in the results, in this white box to the left of the column headers, I'm going to left click it, and that'll select all of the data here. Right click and do copy with headers. So now we're going to open up our Excel file. And in A1, just right click and paste. And I would like to adjust the format of the timestamp, so let's do that real quick. Do custom. That looks good. So we are going to write some formulas to help us easily make a lot more rows that we can import for practice. So with Excel, let's click on the bottom right corner of the month and see if you drag it down, Excel is going to fill in the next few months, January, February, March, etc. So I am just going to drag this down to some arbitrary random place down below. I just want to end on December. Next, we want to fill in, let's say the year, the calendar year. So let's do a formula. So we want to say if the value in column C is equal to January, then take the value above plus 1. Otherwise, give me what's up there. Okay. And I can just double click in the bottom right corner and double check your work. We can see it's 2024, but once you hit the next January, the year goes up by 1. We can keep on moving down. The next January went up by 1, so we know it works. For the current flag, we'll just expand the end all the way down. Again, we'll update this flag later on. That can go down. For the timestamp, we can say use the formula for now. Do that. And now we want to get the month number. So let's do date value that. Okay. And lastly, we want to fill in the year, month. And notice that I want the month numbers to be 2 digits long, so everything is uniform. So we are going to do equals, grab the calendar year, and put in a dash. So we're concatenating a dash in there in the middle. Now we're also going to concat if whatever's in column B is less than 10, meaning if it's a 1-digit month number, add a 0 at the beginning. Otherwise, give me nothing. Here we go. So we're just grabbing the year, putting a dash, putting in the month. If the month is 1 digit, I'm putting in a 0 in front of it, just so everything matches. So next, let's get rid of formulas. So highlight all the columns, Control-C to copy, right-click, and do paste special values. Now all of those formulas are gone. You can click around. Remember, our data in here already has the year 2023. So we only had this data to help us play in the rest of the Excel file, so we can delete these 2023 records. Delete. Don't forget to save your work. And with SQL Express, I tend to save my Excel files as the 93 to 2000 and 97 to 2003 workbook file format. So now that that's saved, I'm going to close this workbook and go back to Management Studio. So to get started importing the data, let's right-click on our database name and go to Tasks and then Import Data. That will open up this Import-Export wizard. Hit Next. For the data source, this is going to be our Excel file. So click the drop-down, select Microsoft Excel, and now we are going to browse for that file that we just created. Make sure that the Excel version is the same as how you saved it. Hit Next. For the destination, scroll all the way to the bottom, to the very bottom option for SQL Server. The server name and database name will be filled out for you. And again, remember, you right-click to the database name in the first place to go to Tasks and Import Data. So it already knew that information, but it's good to double check. Just make sure that you are in the right place. The authentication method will be the same credentials that you used to sign into this SQL Server. So that's very likely still Windows authentication, unless you changed anything. Everything is good here. Hit Next. I'm going to keep it as the top selection. Hit Next. There was only one sheet in our Excel document, so that was the only sheet to select. It was already selected here. Again, left side is your Excel file, right side is the SQL table. I want to import into an existing table, so I will use the drop down and click on Dates. You can type in the name of the table yourself. Just be careful with typos and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to pay attention to this icon here because it'll change when it recognizes I'm using an existing table. So if I click away, if I click back in here to make it update, we can see that it updated. Before you hit Next, always hit Edit Mappings. So we are going to make sure that the Excel columns are going to the right SQL table columns. So let's say if the mappings didn't complete themselves, or if the SQL table has more options available, you would see those options when you click the drop down. So just for fun, I'll update some of these to ignore. And you can see as I move more of these to ignore, the number of options available for when I go to map a different column expands because these are all columns not yet mapped. So I'll leave calendar year as is. Month name goes to month name, month number. And now when we get back to year, month, it only has one option left. So that's a good safeguard. Data can't, two columns from the Excel file can't go to the same SQL column. While you're here, check the size column. If you see it default to 255, that means you had a typo in the SQL table name. So we used the drop-down. That shouldn't have been possible if there wasn't any issue, so we were good to go. But just so you know, if you did type it in manually, or if you were copying from notes, maybe your notes has a typo, just be aware of that. Look out for that 255. That indicates you're not going to an existing table. Hit OK. Things are done. Hit Next. Nothing to change here. Hit Next. I'll leave it as run immediately. Hit Next. I'm double checking. I'm importing the same or the right Excel file. It's going to the dates table. It's going to which already exists. I'll just hit finish. 228 rows were transferred. So one question you might ask is, what's the max limit that you can import? So I don't know the official answer, but from my personal experience, the max, I didn't have an issue with importing until my file got to be around 950,000 rows. And once my data got to be past 950,000 rows, what I did to resolve it was just break up the data into 2 workbooks, and then I could import 1 workbook at a time, and it was just fine. So as long as you're below 950,000 rows, you're fine. You'll be fine. Hit close. Okay, so now let's check out our table. So here's a year 2023 data that we used our insert into, and then the rows that we used the edit top 200, so 2023 is in here. Here is our 2024 and beyond. So you can see now we have hundreds or a couple hundred rows that we easily imported. So aren't you glad you used the import method instead of typing all of that out with insert into? That would have taken forever. So that is 3 methods to get data into your SQL table. So while we're here, let's go over a more advanced topic. So what if you want to insert data into a table, you're not entirely sure if the data from your Excel file already exists in the SQL table? So how can you insert only new records without duplicating older records? Let's go through it. Yeah, good exercise, good exercise. Let's go. So I just open up a new query, just make a fresh new window. So let's start by making a clone of the dates table. As a side note, you may notice that my little character is now hidden away. That is because my tracking device has lost juice in its battery. It is now charging, but we can still continue. Let's keep at it. So we are going to do select star from, this will be your new table. So I'm going to call this WK for working, dates, from, dates, where 1 equals 2. Insert into. Here we go. Highlight the query, or sorry, highlight the SQL script to execute. So now if I refresh our database, we have a clone of the dates table. So if I do our select star from our working dates, it's empty. So we made a clone of just the structure. You can also do, you can also make a backup of a table, a clone of a table, including all the data in it. That's not that's not part of the topic that we're learning today, but just for funsies, in case you're curious how to make a backup of a table, do select star from, or sorry, into. I'll do BK for like backup, or you can do BU for backup. Dates from the dates table. So I can see 240 rows were affected. So now if I do select star from our backup dates table, it has all of the records that were in the dates table at the time. That doesn't mean the data was moved. I can still do select star from dates. All the data is still there. All we did was copy the table structure and copy all the data into our backup. So that's very nice where when you want to make a backup of a table before making major updates to the main table. In case you wanted to see our backup table. There it is. View dates. But again, that's not quite part of our topic for today, but if you're just curious. I'm just gonna drop that table because we don't need it. Here we go. Clean all that up. So switching gears back to our working dates table. Okay, so let's go, for fun, go back to our Excel file. And let's make a copy of that Excel file and then edit it. So let's do that. Okay, so I made a copy. I'm going to keep, let's keep the year 2024, 25, sure, that's fine. I'll just do Control-Shift down, delete everything else. Just so I don't get myself confused. There we go, easy peasy. So we have our 2024. Yeah, just for this example, let's take out 2025 too. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The point is, I just want to have a Excel workbook that has data that is already in our SQL table, and I want to have data that is not already in our SQL table just so we can do some practice. And just in case if there's any ghost rows, I'll just delete just in case. Save our file. And close it. So, just for fun, I just want to show you something super quick. If we have a transaction open that we haven't yet committed, and then we try to import data, Management Studio will get kind of a tummy ache. It'll get upset. So let's do an example while we're here. So let's do, I don't know, I'm just going to put random stuff in here. For the year 2027, sure. Begin tran, insert into dates, that data, execute, one row affected. Let's check out dates. Where calendar years equal to 2027. Oh, apparently I already had a 2027 in here. Whoops, that's a bad example. Let's roll that back. Let's make that the year, it is now the year 3000. Let's do that. Because I don't think we have a year 3000 there. You can also check by doing like order by calendar year descending. Yeah, the max is 2042. You can also do max calendar year from dates. Get it that way. Anyhoozle. So let's go back over here, and I'm just double checking. I did hit roll back. I'm just double checking. Yeah, the previous transaction was closed. I'll do this again. Begin tran, ending above rollback. Execute, one row affected. Order by calendar year descending. Here's our latest record for the year 3000. I am purposely not going to commit yet. I'm going to leave this transaction open and I'm going to go to test database, tasks, import data. And let's see how far we get. You know what? That's because our transaction was for the dates, not the working dates. That's why. Let's roll that back. Let's try that again. Actually, let's do... WK dates. And truncate means you're emptying the table, you're emptying the entire table, just regardless of what's in it. It's different than the delete from, where you can say specific rows. We'll go more into deletes and truncate later on, but since we had a little hiccup, I'm going to use it now. Okay, so for our insert into now, I'm going to update that so it'll be for our working dates table. I want my transaction to be there. So now I'm not going to commit. Let's try that again. Get our import wizard back up. I swear if this works. Yeah, this definitely should have been completed by now if there were no pending transactions on the table. So the fact that it's not completing is what I was hoping to show you. And I get a little tummy ache. So let's let this run for a second. Let's see if it'll spit out a error message or if it's just going to keep on running for infinity. Yeah, this thing isn't moving. I'm just going to hit stop. Are you sure you want to cancel? Yes. I might have bricked it. Let's see if I left click somewhere. I was curious if it was going to turn completely white. Yeah, this is stuck. It's bricked. I'm going to try... I can't close it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Mistakes may have been made. Are you sure you want to exit the import wizard? Yes. Okay. So let's look at, did anything make it? No, nothing made it to the working dates table. So again, that's because I had an open transaction on that table already. So I'm actually going to roll back that change. Look at my working dates table, and now it's empty. Okay, so again, if I try to commit or something, the transaction was already closed when I did the rollback, so there's no transaction to commit. Our working dates table is free, so let's do that import one more time, but for real this time. We've done this a few times, so speed run. Speed run, let's go. 24 rows transferred, sweet. Okay, so looking at our working dates table, here is what our new Excel file just entered. Again, we still have the 2024 data already in the dates table. The 2026 is new. So now we want to practice inserting data into the main table, the dates table, that isn't already there. Okay? So let's do this. Before we work on our insert into, I do need to make one quick adjustment. So going back to our working dates table, so we have the years 2024, 2026. I was not thinking. I know we went over the year, the max year that we have in our dates table is 2042. So obviously 2024 is already going to be in there. So instead of just so we don't have any issues with our insert later on, I'll just do a quick truncate our working dates. And let's take 2 seconds to update our import table. So we're back in here. So let's do Control F. We will replace the year 2026 with just the year 3000. So everything looks good there. Everything looks good there. Okay. I'm going to save the file and close the file. Let's go back to our speed run one more time. Easy peasy. Okay, let's look at our working dates table again, 2024, the year 3000. Okay, so now for sure, we definitely, absolutely do not have any records in the dates table for the year 3000. So I can actually highlight both of those queries at the same time and execute, and it'll show the results one on top of the other. So I see my working dates are at the top, and my dates table is at the bottom, ordered by calendar year descending. We are definitely good to go. So now let's work on that insert into scripts that we can use to insert records that do not already exist in our dates table. So let's say, we already have our big intran rollback commit, so that we can just start insert into dates. Again, SQL is not case sensitive here, so we are fine. Year month, month number, month name, calendar year, current flag, modified by, and timestamp. So we are going to insert data into this table for these specific columns. Select essentially the same things, same columns from working dates, and let's give it an alias. Let's say as A. It could be anything you want. Yeah, I could say kittens, I could say puppies, whatever you want to do. To keep it easy, I'll just say as A. So I'm going to add that alias at the beginning. So later on, my script understands these columns are definitely coming from this table. If I did not do the alias, you could do the table name dot column name. That works too. See if I take away that piece. See, now it's reversed. But I want to use the alias because it saves time and saves space. So we are inserting into the dates table, selecting those columns from the working dates table. Now this is the special part. Now we want to do this. Essentially copy the column names from dates. Let's give this an alias. I'll just say as V on a.year_month equals b.year_month. So similar to what I did up here, I just want to make sure my script is crystal clear where exactly these are coming from. Okay, and just so everything's spaced out where we can read it more easily, there we go. And like how we can give an alias to a table name, we can give an alias to a whole select script that we're using, kind of like a table name in our join here. So I'll just say as C. And now we have to tell the script how this script is talking to this table. So this is where we say on a.year_month _ year_month equals C year_month. Okay. Now finally, where C year_month is null. In other words, I want to bring over records that aren't in the dates table. So let's give this a shot. Let's give it a shot. Begin tran to the end. Yep, that wasn't happy. Let's see. So we can even do a select just on this statement in the middle. So we're basically looking at the dates table, doing a right join with working dates. So we're seeing, does anything in the working dates table show up with the dates as well? So we see we have a match for 2024, but any mentioning of the year 3000 is gone. They're showing up as null. So I need to update that to D. So now when we do our insert into dates, it's going to reference this select statement, and wherever the result of this query, which we gave the alias as D, if the alias D year_month is null, like here, then we will get those records. So let's do begin tran, execute. 12 rows were affected. So now let's scroll up. Let's check out our working dates. And let's check out our dates table for calendar years descending. It now has the year 3000. So if we go to 2024, again, this is descending, so it's going down to January through December this way. It's still fine. So we still see 2024 is only in here once, not twice. Just to double check the affected rows again, I can roll this back and do this insert again. Just to confirm, 12 rows were affected out of the 24 in working dates. So there you go. I can, well, before I do that, let me roll it back. Let me show you one more thing. So this select statement is another way that you can see what records did the working dates table have that the dates table did not have. So I had rolled back the insert we had done before, so we're back to square one. We are back to where we have our working dates table with 2024 and the year 3000. We are again back to where our dates table where the max year is 2042. So you can use this query or this where clause where not exists, selects just X, from our main table where year month in both tables are the same. So you see the alias A, this is this year month column is coming from our working dates table, and you see the alias B, so this year month column is coming from the dates table. So this is we could use this as an indicator of how many rows to expect to be imported into the dates table prior to doing our insert into script. So we would see the 12 rows here. So now we can go back to our insert into and see 12 rows affected. And now I'll just commit. So our changes have been saved. The dates table has the year 3000, and there you go. So this is how you insert data from one table to another based on if that data already exists.